Warning, spoilers for the first arc and a half of the Kakegurui storyline. While I don't give everything away, if you want to go into this blind, then I suggest you turn back here. Additionally, Kakegurui was not made for all age ranges in mind, due to the heavy sexual themes of the series, alongside some violent overtures. Viewer discretion is advised. Greetings one and all, and welcome to another episode of Late Night Ponderings, my series of mini-editorials that covers a wide range of subjects. Today's subject, Yumiko Jabami, the invasive species of Kakegurui. As a Floridian, I know that I am qualified to talk about invasive species because we have quite a few of those here. Crocodiles, Burmese pythons, armadillos, and the Brazilian pepper trees, just to name a few. There are a number of these creatures that wander around this odd little peninsula. I know that Florida is a magnet for chaotic energy, but this is ridiculous. Too many people release their exotic pets into the wild with moronic abandon. These former pets do what they can to survive, even if that means destroying the flora and fauna around them. It's a dangerous cycle that leads to humans killing these animals on sight in an attempt to restore order. Well, that or the Florida man genes kick in and they lust for blood, Cuban coffee, and meth. While reading Kakegurui's manga, I noticed that the idea of an invasive species was present, if not outright stated, by comparing Yumiko directly to snakes. When it comes to Yumiko and snakes, the anime's symbolism is about as subtle as an alligator blocking a road during mating season. That's why I've dubbed Yumiko Jabami the invasive species of the Kakegurui universe. The anime adaptation was more stylized than the manga, but it did hold true to the manga's themes. Haikyuu Academy itself is a carefully crafted ecosystem. The student council president compares the academy to an aquarium, where those who have money and wish to gain more must gamble to do so. Of course, gambling is all about taking risks, but most of student council doesn't want to put their status in jeopardy, which makes them cheat in various inventive ways. Kakegurui is similar to Dragon Ball Z in a way. Think about it. The protagonists are leagues above almost any other character in the show. Neither of them are natives to the setting it takes place in, and both end up dethroning many champions, and they influence positive and negative change. Not to mention how both characters are reckless and don't care for their own well-being. Even when she loses, Yumiko doesn't stay down for long, similar to a stereotypical shonen protagonist. Instead of learning new techniques that allow her to reach a new level of power, she relies on one part luck, one part skill, and one part terrifying faces of gambling madness. If you honestly thought I was going to talk about Kakegurui and not mention the over-the-top reactions, then you were sorely mistaken, my dear fledglings. Anywho, where was I? Oh yes, Yumiko Jabami is a tumultuous force of nature, disrupting the environment she's in. Throughout season 1 and the earlier chapters of the manga, Yumiko's actions tie into a massive social upheaval at her school, dethroning many of those who hold seats of power within an oppressive system of school government. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the series, you may be thinking, oh, clearly Yumiko hates the system and has decided to overthrow it and rule over it herself, or put someone deserving in the president's place. Nope! While Yumiko doesn't enjoy seeing her peers tortured, she's not doing this for some noble, heroic reason. Her initial motivations and main driving force is her absolute obsession and addiction to gambling. Her compulsive gambling, or kakegurui, if you will. This is not a story of some hero that we're meant to root for every step of the way. There is no one here wanting to start a revolution, nor is it a story of a down-and-out misanthrope trying to wing their way back up to the top. This is an apex predator introduced into a new environment, and wiping out any competition with swift efficiency. Yumiko doesn't belong here, and yet she's making herself at home devouring those who stand against her. Or, if she deems them worthy enough, allowing them entry into her pack. Yumiko isn't some kind of perky protagonist, and she doesn't serve the role that one would expect in a show like Kakegurui, which is settled between traditional shonen battle anime and a subgenre of gambling anime. It is a curious crossroad to be betwixt. Under normal circumstances, these are two distinct genres that don't intermingle, but Kakegurui makes it work somehow. We learn early on that even when Yumiko becomes a house pet, that she has a surplus of money somewhere. Yet she chooses not to use it, which begs the viewer to ask, why are you being an idiot and allowing yourself to be abused by this band of jackals when you can either pay off your debts or destroy these insipid, disrespecting morons in a game? Well, we find out when Yumiko uses that as a ploy to use her status to challenge any student to an official match. Her main target? The president, Kirari Momobami. Why? For her own amusement. Even when she uses the official match on Kaede Manuda, this still ends up luring Kirari in. She knows that the president is intrigued by her, and Yumiko uses this to her full advantage. Yumiko has a cunning ability to discern exactly what another person wants, which is chilling to say the least. She wants to face the president, not to dethrone her, but for the thrill of it. This allows her to fulfill her very specific needs of gambling, whatever those might be. I don't know, and I also don't want to know. Whew, calm down, girl. Her madness is like a disease and it's infecting everyone around her. Yumiko seeks the stimulation of danger, risking everything she is on just one more roll of the dice. Before we go any further, let me address the rattlesnake of a topic I've been jitterbugging around to avoid. While it'd be better for me to not address it due to wanting to focus this video's topic on Kakegurui, I'm afraid I must insist. I am well aware of the criticisms of Kakegurui, which compares it to the not at all underrated seinen darling, Kaiji. Kaiji is a serious business all-or-nothing show with no reprieve for the titular hero. Sure, he wins, but at a huge cost to himself. Think of Kaiji as a mockingbird in a suburb surrounded by cats, hawks, and foxes. The little bird finds himself stumbling across these dangers due to his hubris. Yet, comparing it to Kakegurui is an absolute misstep and a foolish notion, to say the very least. They're two separate stories, two separate genres, and two different environments. Gambling is the main thing they have in common, and even that's portrayed differently, with Kakegurui going for a more bombastic, over-the-top sort of look, while Kaiji is grounded and rooted in painful truths. There's also the psychological aspects of the two series that bear some similarity. With Kaiji, we're focusing on him and his thoughts about his terrifying situation. Kakegurui actually has us focused on the other characters' thoughts, rather than the thoughts of our main heroine, only for them to be revealed at the end of her matches, most of which she wins. Imagine, if you will, a little bird deciding to move its nesting grounds, even though there's danger at every turn. The bird changes its life for the chance of extra seeds and possible mates. Its decision threatens its survival, but even so, it does not stop. It cannot stop, because this is its life now, accentuating the tragedy of its situation in the natural world's food chain. A pecking order, if you will. That's Kaiji. In contrast, imagine the devastation that's caused by a pet Burmese python released into the wild. The local flora and fauna suffer huge losses. Instead of doing this for survival, let's say the Burmese python is killing to kill, and for no other reason. This is fun for the python. The only other animal that can stop it will cause mutually assured destruction for them both. That's Kakegurui. You mayhaps notice a huge difference in these two scenarios. The stakes in both are high, and I've heard it said that because of Yumiko's supposed endless funds that there's nothing at stake for her. Therefore, there isn't any danger. Here's the fun thing about that. In the time of her being a house pet, well, let's see. She was physically assaulted, almost sexually assaulted, and almost shot. Then, if that wasn't enough, she wagers her life plan on a completely chance bet that she had no idea whether she was going to win or lose. If she won, she'd have a chance to pay back her debt with her winnings, regaining ownership of her life plan. Mind you, at this point, her life plan required that since she owed a debt to the student council, they owned her. This means that they could, and would, sell her into a marriage with a man she doesn't know and require her to produce heirs for him. What I'm saying is, Yumiko and Mary, the antagonist turned protagonist, could have been sold into sex slavery. But yeah, sure, there are no stakes in Kakegurui. Nope, no siree, not at all, none. Completely zilchoni. Okay, I'm being sardonic to those who are obstinate in their opinions about the series. I'll admit, there are fewer stakes for Yumiko than there are for a character she directly affected by her ruinous actions. Mary Satome. She starts at the top of her social ladder, and then after a terrible loss against Yumiko, she's slung into debt. Mary doesn't have unlimited funds like Yumiko to escape her debt either. She knows that if she doesn't gamble more, she'll lose everything she's worked for. Her life is no longer hers, and she knows that. I must add, Yumiko has no intention of saving Mary unless she gets something out of it too. While not implicitly saying so, and she does show a bit of remorse, but not enough to give away her money like she did for Ryota. What people miss about Kakegurui is, if you get down to the nitty-gritty of it all, Yumiko isn't the only protagonist of the story. Mary is as well, and after introducing her POV, she becomes a deuteragonist of sorts with Yumiko. When she makes a deal with Yumiko and wins back her status as Queen Bee, she becomes a huge focal point of the series. She even gets her own spin-off manga. Mary becomes a force to be reckoned with once again. Her skills, her prowess, and gambling put her in the running for Student Council President in Season 2, actually standing a chance of winning it all. I'm not going to spoil the whole show here, go read the manga. Mary has been lurking around Haikyuu Academy's perfect world for a long time, and she knows how it works. The games people play and the manipulations they try to use to gain their ranking within the school. To go back to the animal themes I've brought up throughout this video, think of Mary as a bobcat. Bobcats, besides being excellent hunters, have also been known to scavenge when things get difficult for them. Why am I telling you this? That's easy. I'm telling you Yumiko Jibami is not the character people would focus on in other shows like Kakegurui. Normally she'd be the villain of the story with her sheer catastrophic power, yet we're focusing on her, and then we are treated to Mary's view. Mary is the antithesis of a hero that is expected by those who watch gambling anime, or even shonen anime. A character who has climbed her way up to the top from nothing, only to fall again? That's a compelling narrative right there. Yet at first her spotlight was stolen by someone invading her territory, challenging her for dominance, and winning. After her gruesome takedown of Mary, Yumiko doesn't stop there. She does this to everyone she meets. Whether it's the student council or the Momobami clan, it doesn't matter to her. After her match with Yumiko ends in a stalemate, the president decides to dissolve the student council, leaving room for any creature to move in and rule as primary alpha predator of the school, leading to more chaotic battles and many twists and turns. For someone like Yumiko to lead the charge against the antagonists of this series is truly odd. You're not expecting her to be the driving force behind a social revolution. Let's be frank, her sheer calamitous energy makes her more suitable for starting an apocalypse than positive social upheaval and pep talks. No, that last part isn't a joke. She encourages other characters to take risky gambles, releasing their inhibitions, but also breaking the chains of society or totalitarian school council regimes that bind them. Her madness infects Mary, Itsuki, Ryota, and even the president herself. It's in Yumiko's nature to drive these people to absolute extremes, which is something that Yumiko and the president both have in common. They've even influenced others to mutilate themselves for their desires, in the case of Itsuki and Midori. There is one key difference between the two. From my understanding, the president wants a certain semblance of order to be kept within her school, at least in the first season of the show and the first arc of the manga. Yumiko wants to gamble, and if those who rule the school actively try to sell her into slavery, rip off her fingernails, cut off her fingers, force her to never gamble again, or throw her off a high tower, well, that's just another Tuesday in the life of Yumiko. All of that is child's play, and make the game more scintillating for her. How the school runs and ruins people's lives has no meaning to her either. It can dissolve into complete chaos and it'd suit her needs. No matter who wins in the end, Yumiko has already gotten what she wanted. I'm Red Angel, and I'll see you next time. Greetings everyone! In my description below there are links to two separate articles. One has a list of bail funds all across the United States for those who were unlawfully imprisoned during the protests, and the second being a list of multiple LGBTQA organizations that could use your support if you're able to. Otherwise, just stay informed about current events and please be safe out there everyone.